Hey, welcome everybody to the Sailing Shack video. The last one we did for the quarter wave yacht, the Seaway 25 quarter wave, which is a Peterson design. As you can see, we've done a couple of videos on this. This is the final one before we had the boat pretty much finished, and it's now been sold and in Queensland. So let me take you through some of the detail that we went through during the rebuild. A couple of things. First of all, one of the things that was really great on this boat was the way the mast was put up and down. The previous owner did a really great design, as you can see here, two arms and then onto a piece of plastic that went up the mast slot. And so basically this stopped the mast falling sideways whenever you were putting the mast down or putting the mast up. So you could actually control it. There's a block and tackle system, which you can see there, which went down to the vang fitting and then back to one of the winches, and you could just move it around and with total control move the mast up. More for moving it down. When it's coming back, you still need to push it back up, but you can also have a rest along the way. So that was really great for short-handed if you need to do that. This will work on any boat, by the way, not just for the Seaway 25, but it's a fantastic design. Couple of things on the Seaway. We did a brand new mast step. I think we showed that on one of the videos. But one of the tricks of the mast step is when you pull the mast down, if you leave it for a while, you kind of forget which hole went where. So the mast bolt goes in the second one from the back, and the main one, the rear one, is actually for the vang. So the vang fitting goes on there, or the boom vang fitting goes on there. The second one back is the one which actually secures the mast on its mast base to the actual mast step. You can see there's a couple of bolts in there, a couple of big bolts go all the way through the deck, and there's other ones that there's one on either side, and there's 4 securing bolts which go into the actual mast step, and then the actual mast step plus the block is secured all the way through the hull. In terms of the fitting, sometimes people get confused on the Seaway. The Seaway 25 never had tracks, so never had like headsail tracks. The later model ones did, but the early ones didn't. They ran a barber hauler system. So in the background there you can see some little U-bolts, and those U-bolts were where you snapped on the barber hauler system, so they were there for the number 1, number 2 and number 3, which made the decks really clean, removing the not having tracks in there. So the setup is a 3-cleat setup. That's the way we've done it. So the first one there is for the tweaker. That's for the spinnaker tweaker. Second one back is for the barber hauler on the jib, so you could trim the jib up or down and really controlling the leach. And the last cleat there is for the spinnaker sheet. And you can see in the background there we've got the spinnaker block. We're using ratchet blocks just to make it a bit easier in breezy weather for the spinnaker sheet. Couple of little ones here. The main sheet system on the left hand side, we put a center main sheet block in, so just to make it easier. It's got quite a wide traveller, and if the main sheet system is all the way down on the traveller and you're right up on the high side trying to steer the boat and you need to drop the main, you can't get to it. It can be be quite horrific in a port and starboard situation. So we like to have the main sheet in the center block. Just allows us to trim that easily, and you'll notice there it also doubles as a footrest as well. In the background there we've got some nice Ronstand rope bags and Ronstand winch handle holders as well. On the right hand photo you can see the other thing we did was move all the spinnaker cleats and the pole cleats up front. So we took those away from the cockpit and moved them up so the bow hand, so that who was running the foredeck could actually control the pole up and down, and also they could control even the spinnaker halyard to a certain extent as well. They could actually pull that up from down the bottom and then let someone else tail it from the back end. So just shortened up the ropes, but also made it easier for the bowman to do their thing without having to yell back at the cockpit. The other thing we did on the boat was we carried the spinnaker pole on the boom. That's a little tricky these days. You used to be able to buy these hooks. I think they were from Riley, I think, these hoops, but they don't make them anymore and you can't buy them, so at least we couldn't. So we fashioned up some nice sort of hooks being done out of like a plumbing pipe, and they're on either side, and we just had a ring at the front to hold the pole at the front. We also run the topping lift and the downhaul for the pole stay connected, so it makes it really easy for the pole to come out very quickly by the bowman and also to be retrieved sort of dinghy style back onto the boom. The tiller system was a bit modified on this Seaway. It's got a longer post coming up. Normally the Seaway tiller came right off the base. This one was raised up higher by adding about it's about a foot or about 30 centimeters of the stainless steel rudder post goes all the way up. That just gives more room for people around the back of the boat, more room to get to the outboard, more room for someone who's behind the helmsman. I actually quite like this design. We've fitted the ladder tiller extension to it just for easier steering. In the back, you can see there's the headsail turning block, which is the first one. on the right hand side, and the left hanging off the push bit is actually the spinnaker turning block. I've seen these mixed up on different Seaways over the time, but that's the design anyway. Is the headsail sheets on the sort of right hand one a bit more inboard, and the spinnaker sheet going as far aft as it can. And again, you can run ratchet blocks if you wanted to on those. We didn't. We've left those regular blocks and then run a ratchet block just up before you actually take it into the cleat or into your hand. A couple of small things. We did what we'll show in a moment what we did with the stern, but we actually carry just a piece of plastic basically that goes off the back of the outboard bracket, and a little piece of wood on the inside just to stop the damage or any damage occurring to the stern of the boat. A lot of boats have got permanent pieces of either metal or stainless steel or plastic put in. I highly recommend making it more permanent. We just hadn't got round to it, and to keep it light, we just had these two pieces that could come off if we needed to. On the right hand side, you'll see that we've done some epoxying of the this is the main hatch. This cracks incredibly through here. In fact, we actually cut it all out and put a whole new piece of fiberglass in, and then sealed it back on the fore hatch. The reason it cracks is that people stand on it when they're moving the mast up and down, and after 20-30 years of people standing all over it and flexing, it basically cracks. And so we decided just to replace the whole thing, and we put this new little hatch area in just to make it look nice. The other thing you'll see in the background is the piece of steel. That's the aluminium. That's aluminium piece that sits on top of the deck, and that's where the centerboard hangs down below. So I'll show you that in a next couple of slides. So inside the boat now, this is the major renovation job we did. We actually replaced the bulkheads on both sides of the boat. This is on the port side. This is how the Seaway 25, designed by Doug Peterson and built by Stephenson Sailboats. This is exactly how they had the bulkhead. The bulkhead on the port side was a half bulkhead, giving privacy for the toilet, which is on the other side, but mainly it was done to support the centerboard case as well, so it sort of came up against the centerboard case. In this boat and many others I've seen over the years, this bulkhead was cut out and they just had little half bulkheads. And the problem with that is it just leaves the centerboard case unsupported. So we've put that back in. You'll also see a nice piece of woodwork done by Tim Heaney and the team around the centerboard case. That was all new woodwork around there because that was all chipped and belted around as people had stood on it and broken it over time. So that's a nice piece of woodwork. And we've also got the rope there. That rope is for the centerboard. That's for the uphaul for the centerboard, which is just a block and tackle system. Now, a word of warning here, you might see some Seaways which have got winches on them instead of the block and tackle. If they've got winches, it pretty much means what they've done at some point in that Seaway's life, someone's taken the centerboard out, taken the lead out of the hull and put the lead into the centerboard to try and make it better for upwind performance. A couple of things on this, it doesn't actually improve the upwind performance. The second problem is you can't pull the centerboard up anymore without a winch. And by putting a winch on and winching it hard, this new heavy centerboard, you actually bow the top of the cabin. So just be careful of boats that have had the lead put in it, or if you see them with a winch on, there's a good chance that the centerboard has probably been modified. Have a look underneath the floorboards. If the lead's not there, they've no doubt taken it out and put it in the centerboard case. And I'd just be a bit concerned about the deck. Have a look at the deck structure. You can always fix it, like anything. You can fix anything for the right amount of money, but you don't want to get yourself into trouble with a centerboard you actually can't pull up and down, or one that might be stressing the top of the cabin. The other thing on this is be careful if you're towing the boat. Whenever you're towing the boat, make sure the centerboard's sitting on the trailer and you're not having it fully supported by the roof. This also goes for if you've got the boat moored somewhere, have the centerboard down all the way or halfway at least. And then so it's not just hanging all the way off the block and tackle at the top and essentially the roof. I've seen boats on moorings just swinging crazily around because they've pulled the centerboard right up. There's no need to, and the boat it just moves around, especially in chop, and just strains the rig. So you can see the other side is on the right hand side of the photo. That's just pre-painting. The left hand side I had painted, the right hand side I hadn't at that point, and you can see where the toilet, just a nice porta potty, just sits in that little area there. This is the starboard side bulkheads, just to give you a photo of what it looked like in a pre and a post. So we pulled the bulkheads out, and you can see the chain plates are in two parts. There's one part that goes down towards the keel. That's the bit you can see there, the stainless steel part. But you can also see the cracking in the hull that was starting to occur where the bulkheads were, and the bulkheads themselves were fairly cracked as well. There's a separate video just under our YouTube shorts showing a bit more detail where I'm explaining and showing you the cracks on that right-hand bulkhead. After 40 years or 45 years, yeah, it was definitely time to replace them. On the right hand side photo, far right one, you can see now the new bulkhead, which is a small bulkhead, is in, but it does go all the way down to the keel. And we've also upgraded the shelves in there with some new upholstery and some new sturdier brackets just to make sure that those shelves don't bow. Big piece of work done by Tim Heaney and the team was to really get the stern looking nice. It had been abused over the years, just through use. There was been ladders mounted on it, solar panels mounted on it, lights mounted on it, all sorts of contraptions mounted on it, as you can see. So it was in a bit of a state, so we decided to bite the bullet and completely grind it all the way back and then build it all the way up again to give it a nice finish so it looks like a brand new boat. And that's what we did on the right-hand side, photo, where you can see it's really gleaming now. And you've seen two inspection hatches. The right-hand inspection hatch, that's actually leads into the cockpit locker, and that's where we keep the fuel. So we just run the fuel line out the back to keep it nice and tidy to the outboard. The rear hatch was put in because we simply could not get to a number of the fittings by going inside the boat. Unless you were about a 5-year-old child but had the strength of a 25-year-old, you couldn't get actually up there. So we ended up putting an inspection hatch in just to make it easier to undo the bolts and remove things and then be able to grind it back and give it the nice finish that we did now. Left hand side is the refurbished rudder. So we completely refurbished the rudder. For some strange reason it had been built so it would actually take water, and I'm not sure why. I think it was take water and hold itself down for some sort of negative buoyancy or something. Didn't make a lot of sense to me or Tim. So we basically repaired all that, plugged it all up, sealed it up completely, and then gave it a really nice coat of fairing, and you can see it all nicely painted. You can also see the rudder stock, which has been extended, as I mentioned before, going all the way through. On the right hand side, it's just an interesting thing. This is the Seaway 25 number 1 head saws on the bottom, but overlaying it is a number 1 head saw from a FAR 7500. You can see how the Seaway was definitely a more high performance boat, but funnily enough, the FAR 7500 head saw makes a really good number 2. And again, there's a lot of FAR 7500s. So if you're looking for sales for a Seaway, do consider the FAR 7500 or the FAR 740 Sport. They're very close in terms of some of the sales, and you can see there that's a really lovely Mylar sale that we're able to pick up off Marketplace, and they'll do a great job as a number 2. The other thing I'd mention also is that the number 3 head saw on a Seaway 25 is almost exactly the same as the jib on a Soling. So if you've seen the old Soling sails around, already in decent condition, which we got for this boat as well. So a big shout out to my friend Glenn Collins, who gave me one of his jibs off his Soling from an Olympic campaign. It was absolutely spot on, perfect for a number 3 for the Seaway. This is our last photo. So this is Quarter Wave. She's on her way now. She's actually now up in Mackay in Queensland. So he's gone to Queensland to live the good life, like we all should. But again, the boat had done several trips to Queensland in its life, so it probably knows its way back up to Queensland. So it's all now with its new owners. A couple of things, just if you are transporting them, we definitely found, and the previous owner put me onto this, is the tie downs are essential. The boat is heavy, but not that heavy, and it will move around on a long trip. So we had very strong, they actually grunt tie downs. The first one you can see is just put around and gone behind the first stanchions to stop the boat maybe moving back, and just to hold it down into the little rubber V, which is on the very front of the trailer. So the winch is on there, but we also just wanted to make sure it didn't bounce around too much, and they do move around if you don't watch them. And the rear one, we went over the back just on some hooks that were built into the trailer by the previous owner. I did include some sticky back rubber, the kind of rubber you see on fins and on the floor of some racing dinghies. That's a sticky back. We use that on the rear hull because where the cleat comes in there can be quite close, and you don't want that bouncing up and down and scratching. So we actually mounted that on both sides just to protect it while it's being transported. Keeping the mast super low, we built the bracket for the back, but sits nicely on the front with a bracket, and the rear, a rear bracket we made just to keep everything super low. And you can see that's behind a transporter, some Mercedes-Benz transporter, I think, and it's super low. So it sits right below that, and from a windage perspective, it's quite efficient from a towing capacity. So that's the final one. Thanks. Hope you enjoyed the videos and enjoyed the last one, and we hope that Quarter Wave was a great new life with their new owners up in Queensland.